of our body. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad that you're here today. And we have another important subject to discuss on how to take care of our bodies. Today, our topic will be presented by a wonderful leader, Dr. Jennifer Sankey. And she has a very important topic to discuss. Before we start, I just want to remind everyone that our presentation here today is for educational purposes only. We are not doctors. We're not here to treat, diagnose any conditions or any disease. We are only here to present what we have researched, learned, read. So please, if you have any conditions or any problems, please go to your primary care doctor, discuss your situation, and they can take care of you. So without any further ado, we are going to give the mic over to Dr. Sankey as we listen on artificial ingredients that's in our food. Let us pay attention, get pen and paper, so you can be ready to take notes.
So welcome, everyone. Thank you, Emlyn. I'm so excited today. I'm going to talk about the truth about food dyes. Many times when we eat, we don't even think about what's in the food other than last week. Remember, Emlyn told us we need to read the ingredients. So not only are we reading the ingredients to see what the contents are, with the fat content, with the sugar, with the salt, we want to learn the truth about food dyes that make our food look so colorful, so appealing, so attractive. So Emlyn's already talked about our disclaimer, but I want to tell you that, when we look at our plate, I remember my mother telling me that your plate needs to be attractive, have a little green, a little yellow, maybe some type of a protein on it. And it was so very important whenever she prepared a meal that the plate had color. And we know that color is important, but we know there's two types of colors, and there's the synthetic or the artificial that we're going to talk mostly about today. But then there are also natural colors that we're going to talk about. But we want to know about synthetic coloring. So imagine when we talk about food colors, especially artificial food colors, is in many, 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 many things. It's in candy. It makes it look very attractive. Even sports drinks, Gatorade, lemonade, Kool-Aid, all of that has artificial food coloring. Some of the baked goods, when you go to the bakery, remember they can make your cake with blue icing on it, yellow icing, pink icing, all of those color icings, that has food colors in it. Pickles even, to make them look green and very rich and crispy. They want to make them appealing. Remember, they want to sell the product, so they make it very, very colorful. Even smoked salmon. Now that comes from, you fish and you get the salmon, but to give it that nice pinky color, food coloring is in there. Even our salad dressings, you have the French with just the orange color, you have the raspberry. Sometimes they'll put food coloring in there to make it a little more red. Even the white dressing, they put all kinds of coloring in these items that we eat that we don't even think about. And they even put coloring in medications. So, they say, oh, I take that blue pill, or I take that pink pill, I take that little green pill. And they remember the color of the pill, but they don't even remember the name of the pill. And so what these producers or manufacturers have done is they have attached people to color, that we like color. I remember my niece told me, and this is not about food, but she said, school is so boring. It's just black and white. It doesn't have anything, it doesn't make it appealing. It doesn't make it attractive. Well, look at these foods here on this screen that are black and white. Would you want that pizza if it looked like that? Or would you like that? Would you eat that little cupcake if it looked just really bland, no color whatsoever? Would any of those foods be attractive to you? My question would probably be, or the answer would probably be say, no, not really. And so what we want to talk about is when they put these colors in the food, this is a cereal. We probably have seen cereals that look like this. Really attractive. Kids love them because remember when they're in school, they're learning colors, right? So parents will buy these cereals and say, what color is that? Yellow, red. But all of these food dyes Are they helpful or are they harmful to the body? And so by the time we finish talking about it, we're going to say, do these dyes cause any harm to the body? Are they healthy? So there's a lot of research out there that I really want to just kind of go over really lightly, but there was a research that was done as recently as 2021 by the California Office of Environmental and Assessment. They looked at the different dyes and everything, and they found that in foods and drinks, that many of those dyes, the red, the yellow, all of those dyes that are in foods and that are in drinks, they pose a risk to children, especially when their brain is being developed. So think about it. We like to think about the child who's eating the cereal, but what about the mother who's eating the cereal that has a child in utero? So now that dye is not only getting to the mother's system, but is it being transferred to the baby or to the fetus? So again, even though we think about what we eat doesn't matter, it really does matter because it affects, especially if you're childbearing age and you're carrying a fetus, then it is going to affect whatever's in your system. So again, they did the reviews, but then when we talk about the Food and Drug Administration, many times they said, oh no, none of those dyes really pose a risk. They're really safe for food. And so they approve those foods. And what do we find is we find the red, we find the yellow, we find the blue dyes that are in foods. Other things that dyes are in this, sometimes we don't even think about. Sometimes hair products, sometimes lotions that we put on our skin have dyes in them. And we know that the skin is the largest organ of the body. So if we put those blue dyes on our legs to keep nice and shiny, or yellow dyes in our hair or whatever color, it is very possible. When I say dyes, I'm just saying those yellow, those blue, and those greens, the red, those are the dyes that we don't want to put on our skin or ingest in our body, because they have been proven to pose some risk to the brain. So a couple of years ago, and I have no scientific anything on this, so don't quote me on it, but I have a friend who shortly after she got her hair done, she actually had an episode of TIA. So her doctor said, don't put anything in your hair, don't color your hair. And so she doesn't color her hair. Now that's an individual singled out situation that her doctor recommended for her. So what I would say to you is not all dyes affect people the same way. Not all dyes affect children the same way. So again, this is all about individual choice of what we want to do to best care for our bodies. I don't have any recommendations. We don't treat, assess, or diagnose anything, but I gave that example is because of what she shared with me, and it kind of ties to our topic today. So when we look at these research on different synthetics and different dyes and stuff like that, dyes have shown to cause inflammation in the body. And we know that inflammation over a long period of time produces disease or contributes to diseases. And so many times we don't think about it, but think about it. Dye that has color in it, that is made from a chemical, is a foreign object in the body. But when anything comes in our body that's foreign, our body goes into mode and say, this is not supposed to be here. This does not match. Why are you here? So it goes into the mode of inflammation. And we know that inflammation is painful. If we have inflamed joints or inflamed anything, it is painful. So the body's going through this process once we put the chemicals in it. And now it is, I'm going to use the word, fighting for your life. So it's really trying to say, this doesn't belong here. So be mindful when you buy anything. I was in the store this week. Black people grease their hair and everything. I put oils in my hair and stuff, and I'm reading the ingredients like, does this have any red or yellow or blue in it? And I'm serious about this thing, because after you read and we talk about what it causes, you really want to be serious, because you don't want anything in your body that could pose a risk. Now, everybody responds different. Everybody is different. It may not affect you the same way. They didn't do the research on me specifically, but I want to take the information and share with you of what we can make decisions about. So again, when this inflammation gets into the body, and this particular study was done with rodents. So the other one was done with humans. This one was done with rodents. So I just kind of shared a little bit of all, but if it happens to rodents, it possibly could happen in humans as well. And so one of this study really focused on the colon and the rectal health as it relates to artificial, synthetic food colors. So there's research that 73% of the children who have ADHD. Now, this is, again, we have heard about ADHD. People read, why can't my child sit down in school, and why can't they behave, and why can't they pay attention, and they have a short attention span. Most of that was related, their decreased attention span and all of that was related to artificial food dyes. They did a study, that's what they found. And again, this particular study really talked about that the food dyes, and it could have been other combinations of things as well. Remember, some of these conditions are inherited. So again, this is something that we need to pay attention to. If your child, grandchild, husband, wife has difficulty concentrating what's in the food that they're eating. Are they eating a lot of the cookies and the candies and the ice creams and things that have these dyes in it? Because if it affects children, my guess, it probably affects adults as well. Now, granted, our brains are more fully developed oftentimes in children, but again, we have to believe that when we have too much of anything, sugar, food coloring, it could increase make it difficult for us to concentrate. There was also another study done with children 3 years and 8 years old and 9 years old. Now, granted, they had a mixture of ingredients. These kids were hyperactive. We've all heard it, don't give kids sugar before bed because they're going to be very hyperactive. It may not only be the sugar, it could be the color in the sugar. So it may be the cookies, the cakes, the donuts that have the coloring in it that's contributing to the hyperactivity. And as I said before, not all children react the same way to food dyes. Not all adults react the same way. But again, it's something that we want to be mindful of. So then there was one study that said even as little as 1 milligram of yellow dye, 1 milligram, and that's not very much. That's just a little bit, a teeny weeny bit. But when we think about the amount of food coloring that are actually in the foods, it's not 1 milligram. Sometimes it's 20 milligrams, sometimes it's 50 milligrams. So can you imagine if 1 milligram causes this effect, especially for children that are sensitive to dyes, 50 milligrams, 20 milligrams, that's a lot. And so even the little Sunny D, citrus punch that we give to kids, or even the Gatorade that we say, drink this Gatorade, you've been playing out on the field. But they have the green Gatorade, the red one, they have the blue one. They have all of those colors because they have synthetic food coloring in them. But many times the dose that's in there is a lot. And think about it, none of these dyes have any nutritional value. They're chemicals that are going into the body that the body has to work hard to digest or to eliminate. Let's put it this way, eliminate, but there's no nutritional value. So what we want to put in our body is things that are of value. The Bible says, whatever you eat, whatever you drink, whatever you do all to the glory of God. So we want our body to work for a purpose, not just for our appetite or our taste. We want it to be working for a purpose. And so artificial food dyes or chemicals, we've said it causes hyperactivity. There have been studies that it shows that it can actually cause cancer or contribute to cancer and allergies. Now, we've heard of people say, oh, my allergies are really acting up. Must be a lot of pollen in the air. All may be true. But the question would be, what are you eating? What are you drinking? Does it have an artificial food coloring in it? Because it could possibly be also contributing to allergies. We're quick to blame the outside and the air and the atmosphere and the beautiful environment that God has given to us. But I think all of us would need to do a self-assessment and say, so what did I eat? And did it have any type of chemicals in it that could have triggered the allergy? Other dangers of food dyes are skin rash, migraine headaches. You've heard of people who have migraine headaches. Again, many times, what do people do for migraines? They turn off the lights. That's a natural way. Most people, so I got my medication that I take for migraine headaches, or they may do something else. But what I would say is, remember, many medications have dyes in them as well. So just be mindful. Ask yourself, what medications am I taking that could be contributing to the migraines? What foods am I eating that could be contributing to the migraines? I don't know enough about migraines, the underlying physiological and all that. But again, there's sometimes we can control the frequency of things that are happening in our body simply by what we eat. Food dyes can cause joint pain, respiratory problems, digestive problems, even allergic reactions, dizziness, faster pulse, and increase your blood pressure. There's times that my heart is just beating. I'm like, what did I just eat? So there's a seasoning by McCormick called garlic and herbs that I actually enjoy seasoning my food with. Let me rephrase it. I used to enjoy seasoning my food with, but it has such a nice flavor. But it would get my heart beating so fast that I had to say, what is it? And I had to do a process of elimination, that this seasoning that I really enjoyed, that really enhanced the flavor of food. And I really went to go buy some this week just to see if they, or look in the store and see if it had if it has a dye in it. But I had to just stop using it altogether. So there was something in it that was causing that chemical reaction in my body. Dyes could also cause you to have difficulty sleeping. You've heard people say, like, I cannot get to sleep. I just toss and turn and toss and turn. Again, look at the ingredients, look at what you're eating. Is it possibly the food dye? So when we have any of these symptoms, I think we have to start with, what are we eating? What is our environment? What are the things around us that could be contributing to these things happening? When I say dangers, we know that any of these for any prolonged period of time can be dangerous, can actually contribute to diseases. If you have digestive problems for an extended period of time, you know that can lead to problems, joint pain, all of that. So we know that red dye, most times is red, the cherry red dye that really we find into the popsicles. We find it in the cake decorations. It's kind of pretty, actually. You know, during 4th of July, you go into the store, you see these little pretty blue cupcakes and red cupcakes and all these little pretty things, you know. But really, you're going to find them in a lot of things. Condiments, you'll find them in cereals. But, you know, there's a risk that it can increase your risk of having a thyroid tumor. So this is research that's been studied. And again, it's what we eat. We just need to be aware that it may have some effect on our body, adverse effect. It's not saying that everybody's going to get a thyroid tumor. It's not saying that everybody's going to be hyperactive. But what I would say to you is be mindful when we're eating those, even those Monticello cherries. They were so cute. We put them on in the little, you know, make them look cute, decorative, really pretty, but that's dye. That's not what a cherry looks like. You know, I have cherries in my freezer, my refrigerator right now. They do not look like that. And so what they've done is they bleach these pretty red cherries because we know that red is an attractive color. People are attracted to it. And so that's what the manufacturers are doing. They're attracting our attention. The blue, we've seen it. Popsicles, again, sometimes in soups. Soups even have dye. So we have to be mindful to read the label, read the ingredients, see what's in there that's making this look so pretty and so very, very attractive. Because blue, especially when you put blue dyes and different things, it can actually have an effect on the body. And we really don't want our food to look bland. So we try to choose the food that looks the prettiest and has the most enriched color. But what I'm going to tell you is, there are some natural foods that have some beautiful colors that we can get the same effect on our plate, even with our taste buds, because they are natural. They're naturally blue, they're naturally red. And those are the things that we want to put into our body because they contain nutrients, and these dyes do not contain nutrients. So we're exposing that blue dye also can cause tumors. And we don't want that. Sometimes we don't know why people get what they got. You know, they may say, well, that person wasn't a smoker, that person wasn't a drinker, that person, you know, was a vegan, that person, you know, we go down the whole list when we hear that people are sick. But again, we don't know sometimes what is in the food. And sometimes if we're not mindful about looking for the dyes, we may overlook them or just, you know, not really think about it. The yellow dye. So this yellow dye, you know, popcorn, you know how at the theaters and stuff, they have popcorn and it's nice and yellow, chips, cereals, all of that. And I know Emma's going to talk about popcorn as well, I think is next week. But this yellow that they put on this popcorn that makes it so attractive that you keep eating and can't, it's almost addictive because you want to eat all of it actually. But many of these yellow dyes can cause irritability, restlessness, depression, and difficulty sleeping. So if you're experiencing any of those, again, step back, ask yourself, what is it that I'm eating? Even, let me tell you, the preserved fruits, you know, that they put the little peaches in a can, pears in a can, all of those things they put in a can. Read the ingredients and see whether or not they have any type of dye that's enhancing that color or not. When I was growing up, my dad, he actually canned, and many of you may have, your parents may have canned as well. They cut up those fruits or vegetables, mainly fruits, and they would can them, put them in a jar, can them so they would have them year round. And so those are things that we don't really do anymore to preserve fruits, but those are things that we can do so we don't have to buy the things in the can that may contain dyes that could be harmful to us. So again, yellow, and let me tell you, they even have numbers of dyes. Yellow number 5, yellow number 6, so that means that they're looking at the different shades of coloring. But again, many of those yellow dyes are cancer producing. They have carcinogens in them that we do not want in our bodies. We don't need anything to add to our pollutant environment that may cause us to be at risk for any type of cancers. And so there was one study that showed, and I think I've already talked about this one. This was about the lemonade, the Gatorade. So let's talk more about natural foods. Let's give you some hope. Let's give you some hope. So yes, we want color on our plate. We want it to look good. We want to be attractive. We want to be delicious and nutritious all at the same time. And there are so many foods that we can include into our diet that can accomplish that. So let's talk about those natural things. So even just pomegranates, they're nice and red. They are so bright. I mean, really, there's no, I mean, I'm gonna say they don't even compete with the artificial dye or the synthetic dye. The pomegranate, those are really nice and red. Even the beets, pure beets. Now, granted, beets have varying shades. Some of them are kind of red, some are kind of purplish. But again, they can still give that natural, attractive color to food if you want to. So I went out to eat this week. I went to this vegan restaurant and they had potato salad and they colored it with beets. So I had a friend that did the same thing and it was very attractive, very flavorful. And I thought maybe I'll start using beets in my potato salad. But again, we can make food look attractive without having dye in it. Cranberries are nice, red, give color. Orange, we have carrots, paprika. When I was growing up, my mom, she would put a little bit of turmeric in the rice that kind of give it a yellow color, so you can actually yellow your rice without buying the yellow rice in the store. My guess is the yellow rice in the store that is store-bought. My guess, I shouldn't say it, but I'm a guess. It probably has some type of a food coloring in or synthetic food coloring in it to make it look so yellow. But you can use turmeric easily to give it that nice yellow, bright color. Now imagine if you had a nice yellow, white rice, you had your little broccoli. Now we have some green on the plate, right? And then we put carrots. Now we have some color, right? So we now have orange, we have yellow, and we have green on a plate, and you can put something brown on there. If you want to put any lentils or some type of a meat on there, now you have a very colorful plate without having any type of dye. So these are all ways, these are natural dyes, and I won't go over all of them, but there's so many ways that we can enhance the color of the foods that we're eating that gives our bodies the nutrients that they need to function well. So again, we know that the benefit of using natural foods is for health purposes. We know about the lycopene, especially when we have the tomatoes, good for our eyes, good for our heart, protect against certain cancers. All of those things are good for us. These are the red vegetables. It even is good to protect the liver. It improves the eyesight. It helps with blood pressure and inflammation. These are the red vegetables, the naturally red vegetables that we do not have to go and put any dyes in our body whatsoever. No reason to put it in our body. Yellow vegetables, they're good for vitamin C, vitamin B, vitamin K, omega-3s. Many of these vegetables have fiber in them, dietary fiber in them. And think about it, none of those synthetic dyes have any fiber in them. None of them have any nutrients in them. They don't have anything in them. They just have the color. And so we want more for our money, right? So if we eat yellow vegetables, it's good for iron absorption. Yellow vegetables can actually help with high blood pressure. It actually helps with high cholesterol, promotes white blood cell functions. And the white blood cells we know are needed to fight off infection. So why wouldn't we want to eat the yellow vegetables? If we want to fight off infection, we know that there's infections that we see. Bacteria and viruses that we do not see, but our white blood cells, they will fight off those infections. We know that yellow vegetables are good for your skin and for your hair and for your nails. It even has on their delays aging. So everybody should be eating some yellow vegetables because they're good for us. It promotes wound healing, it's good for collagen production, prevents cancer, aids in so many things, osteoarthritis, and helps with our eyes. As we age, we want to have good eyesight. We don't want to have arthritis. We do not want to have cancer. We want to make sure that, that we're in the best of health. And so the yellow vegetables can do that. And then let's talk about the naturally dye-free foods, nuts, seeds, grains, vegetables, all of that, even beans. So again, if we were to just put all of this in our diet that's on this one slide, none of them should have any type of dye in them. None of them, not a one. And so if we do that, we still would have a healthy, well-balanced meal, and we would be able to eat nutritious and delicious food. And so when we think about when we go to the grocery store, what is on our list? What type of drinks are on our list? Is water at the top of the list, or is juice at the top of the list? Most juice have some type of coloring in it. You'll see it says natural flavors or artificial flavors. If you see artificial flavors, artificial coloring, artificial anything, I would suggest that's not probably the item that you want to put in your shopping cart. Why? It's because it doesn't have the nutrients that you will need, that your body needs. Again, when we're eating for wellness. We're not eating just for taste. We're eating because we need to stay well. We're eating for energy. And some of the diets will take your energy away because, again, the body's working hard, but it has no nutritional value. So the truth, we've talked about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So the truth is that we want a colorful plate. Everybody does, and we can have a colorful plate. We know that there are natural and synthetic dyes. We know that. And so since we know that now, and that beautiful cereal and that all that stuff we're eating, all those cakes and cookies, now that we know that those have synthetic dyes in them, it's not the beet juice, it's not the carrot juice, it's not the turmeric in them. Now that we know that natural foods are healthier. They have nutrients. We now know that synthetic foods contain chemicals. And that's the best way. If you would train your mind to say that's a chemical, then we will think differently about eating the food because it is a chemical. It is not a nutrient. And then even though the FDA and the European Food Safety Authority, even though they say that dyes do not pose a health risk, I think we have to know the truth. We do know the truth and the whole truth. There's been research that has shown what we have talked about today. There's a lot of research out there. I went through article after article and just pulled just a few of them. I would encourage you to go and look and see what else do you find about what's in these dyes, because they're saying it's safe. But I would say just from the premise, if I just went on the premise alone, that they have no nutritional value, in my mind, why would we want to put them in the body? That's just a premise. That's not even any research, but we want to put anything in our body that's going to contribute to our health and well-being. And then lastly, individuals are really encouraged to choose foods that provide nutrients to the body. Think about your body as a temple of God. Think about my body as a temple of God. What am I putting in it? Is it clouding my thinking? Is that why I'm having a difficult time thinking and functioning and producing? Is it because of what I'm eating? And so again, when we think about what we're putting in the temple, if we think about it in that context, we'll be more mindful. It's not that I like it, it tastes good. All of that's true because they do make it taste good. They make it very addictive. But the truth is our body is a temple of God. And what we want to put in our body is the best food, the most nutritious food, the food that God has given us in the Bible. He's told us exactly what we can eat. That's the food that we want to put in the body so that we can function well mentally, physically, and spiritually. Any questions? Any questions?
Did you say that dyes are added to cherries?
Yes, to certain cherries, not the cherries. Well, if you buy them naturally, they're not added, but if they're in that jar, they come in a jar. There's a cherry that comes in a jar. Some of those have dyes in them. If it comes in a jar, a can, anything other than the natural form, oftentimes it does have dye in it.
I was just going to say, in reading up about these artificial colors, I don't know how many of you eat yogurt. What I found, yogurt, especially that red pinkish yogurt, strawberry yogurt, what they have done is they take bugs, what was it? Coccinelle bugs, pulverize them and add it to give it the color, that pinkish color of yogurt. I guess it's health, I don't know. I don't know what harm it does to humans, but just FYI, look at the ingredients of your yogurt. There's some yogurts, and if you see the word carmine, C-A-R-M-I-N-E, most likely the color, that strawberry color that you see in that yogurt is from a bug, Coccinella bug. So if you want to eat bugs, I guess you can continue eating those yogurt, but just be mindful that you can be eating bugs.
You know, and sometimes they do not put all the ingredients on your on the container. I have found that to be true too, even especially with yogurt, because I remember once we purchased yogurt at work, and one of the girls had a very strict diet, but what was listed on the label, I ended up having to go to the internet to see exactly what the company said was in the yogurt. And that's how I found the truth about what actually all the ingredients. They only listed a few, not all of them. And that's how I was able to find out. So again, if you have, if in doubt, it would be better to go to the manufacturer and look up the product that you're purchasing, especially if you're trying to eliminate things from your diet in case you have allergies or headaches or whatever that is. You want to go ahead and start looking up and researching that. Any other questions?
I just wanted to say something.
Yes.
This is Lenore. In regards to what Emmeline mentioned about the bugs, the cochineal bug, I think it's from South America. It's not only found in yogurt, it's found in most red drinks. It says carmine on the label, you just have to read it. And the cherry you're referring to is maraschino cherries, which are used to make fruitcakes.
Okay.
That's it.
And you see how they integrated in things that, because fruitcakes, I remember, you know, my dad used to buy those at Christmas time and everything. So we're thinking the food is healthy, and until we know different, you know, we need to really just begin to read the ingredients.
Jennifer,
Yes.
I have a question. How can we get a copy of your presentation today?
I can send you a link to it.
Okay.
So if you'll put your name in the chat or your email address in the chat, I can send it to you. I'll be more.
Okay.
But again, the information that we talk about here on the program is to help us to move closer to a healthier diet. Because we know, and we're hearing, I think it was me and Emmeline or someone, we're talking about why are healthy people dying? Well, and we're focused on health and wellness, so we're not trying to say people are dying, but what's happening is sometimes they can't even pinpoint why did that person become ill, you know? And there's many factors. It's not just one thing that we talk about, but again, if we can begin to eliminate things from our diet that we absolutely know could be harmful, then it's going to be in our best interest.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
questions or comments?
You know, when I think about, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. What would be the substitute for yogurt then? Like what foods could we eat instead?
What could you use instead of yogurt? Well,
Yeah.
there are some yogurts that, first of all, some yogurts have so much sugar, so you have to read the labels. So there are some yogurts, I'm not saying you cannot eat yogurts. You eat yogurt, but if you're going to, read your label, see what the ingredients are, in the yogurt and make a decision from there. I cannot say off my head what a yogurt, a good yogurt, because I really don't buy yogurt. I do not buy yogurts. But I know there have to be yogurts out there that you can use. There are some yogurts that are made from, if you're not using dairy, there are some yogurts that use nut milk, and also there are yogurts, that are from dairy. My stance on dairy is not to eat it, not to drink it. But if you are not at that level yet, always use milk that's from cows that are farms, that are grass-fed milk, cows from grass that are grass-fed. All of those things can affect us, because what the animals eat, it's all in the milk and also in the meat. So when we eat that, we are pretty much eating what the cows ate or what the chickens ate and so forth.
And then I
I
think
don't know if I answer your question. Who was that?
when I think about yogurt, I would ask myself, I think reading the ingredients is very important. But then if you can't find anything that doesn't have the bugs in it and all the dyes in it, then maybe you can find something because it sounds like it's more, I don't know if it's for pleasurable eating or just enjoyable eating, or you're using it as a probiotic, or, so I would just ask myself, why am I using the yogurt? And is there something else that I could choose different that would give me the same or similar effect?
There are some coconut yogurts out there that are very good. And then you can just buy the plain yogurt, coconut yogurt, and add your own fruit to it.
Okay.
Yes, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that you could, the Greek yogurts are usually like, some of them are natural yogurt. And then like she says, you could just add your fruit if you want it sweet. The Greek yogurts.
Emmeline, the problem
Yes.
I have seen with even the alternatives yogurt,
Uh-huh.
they are full of sugar.
Yeah,
Too much
Yes,
sugar.
that's
Way
why,
too
yeah,
much sugar.
sugar.
There is one yogurt that is plant-based with coconut. I guess its name is Siggis, Siggis. That does not have much sugar at all.
And we know that we heard about sugar last week.
Yes.
So we want to be mindful of the how much sugar is in any product that we.
Yep.
Mhm.
When I think about eating healthy, I always think about, as Jennifer said, about our bodies are the temple of God. And this text come to my mind that we are royalty, God said that we are his royal priesthood, so we are royalty. So we need to eat like royal. Sometimes we skim on the things that we purchase that put into our bodies that we could be consuming. We might go and we buy nice fancy clothes, but when it comes to going to the grocery to buy something healthy, we go and buy the cheapest, and those things that are cheap are the ones that contain all of these dyes and sugars and unhealthy food, unhealthy ingredients. So let us start eating like royalty, because we belong to the King of Kings. So therefore we are kings, we are queens and kings and prince and princesses of the Most High God. Let us think of our body in that realm. And when we do, most of the times we're going to try to eat things that are wholesome, that will help uplift, improve our minds, give us clear thought process and all of that, so we can, serve our maker.
Thank you, Emma. That is so true. Well said. And I would encourage all of us to drink more water and less juice. And if we're going to, if we want juice, We really want to eat the fruit rather than the juice, because the juice, once it's been processed, it really does take the nutrients out. And I mean, for us, this program is all about, when Emily and I started, we've worked in healthcare, we've worked in sick care where people are coming to the hospital sick, but we want to at least get the message out, do the research, and talk about how do we keep people well. You know, again, it's all about choices that we make, but again, can we not just get the word out to tell them what we can do versus what we can't do to keep people well. All right, any other questions? Let me just check the chat box before we close out. All right, Emlyn, any last words or anything? I think you did a good wrap up.
Yes, it was excellent, excellent. Thank you for your presentation, Dr. Sankey. And I want our audience not just to hear, but to be doers, to practice healthful living, eating healthy, because we are a royal priesthood, and God wants us, he wants us to take good care of our bodies.
Great, thank you. So remember, y'all are royalty. All right, so we're going to take prayer requests. If anyone has any prayer requests that you'd like for us to, we're going to pray to close out the program, not only just for those that we pray for, but we're going to pray for ourselves, because I'm telling you, it's a battle. And I think that the taste buds are really our biggest battle. And many times that's the way the devil will get to our mind. We don't even realize why we're anxious or have anxiety or depression. And many times it's the food that we're eating. It literally is the food that we're eating. And so I would just encourage all of us, continue to read the labels. Even if you have something in your cabinet today, you know, if it has something in it that's harmful to your body, you have to ask yourself, do I really want to finish the rest of this? Or do I want to start living healthy beginning today?
Yeah, we need to get rid of it right now, because if you start say, oh, I'm going to finish this, you know what? The next time you go back to the store, you might just gravitate and get that same thing again. So just get rid of it right now and start afresh.